The headlines are screaming about a condo market crash. But what's really happening in the Palm Beach County townhome and condo market? My name is Prindle, and over the last 15 years, I've been helping home buyers and home sellers navigate the South Florida real estate market. In this video, we're going to look at the statistics that are driving the Palm Beach County condo and townhome market. We're going to look at things like how much inventory is there, how long is it taking to sell a condo or a townhome, and at what price are these transacting. I'm going to cut through the noise and show you what the data is actually saying. Whether you're considering buying a condo in Jupiter or a townhome in Palm Beach Gardens, whether your purchase and sale timeline is 2 weeks from now or 12 months from now, let's look at the data that's going to help you make a better decision. All right, everybody, how we doing this month? Condos and townhomes. Ready to dig in here? All right, 315,000. We're down from 320,000, I believe, year over year. Just double check. Yep, 320,000. So we're a massive $5,000 off year over year if you want to pay attention to median pricing. Here's the thing. You look back the last 3 years, we've been level. So I know that there is a lot of doom and gloom in the media out there right now about condos and townhomes in Florida. I'm here to tell you, Palm Beach County, values are holding up if you want to look at median pricing. Here's the thing, I think it's a silly statistic to look at in Palm Beach County, and I'm going to tell you why. Look, we have such a wide array of pricing in Palm Beach County. You've got oceanfront, you've got Everglades, you've got a ton of different neighborhoods in between that are priced all over the place. If we were living in a place with stable pricing, I would say this is a different equation, but our pricing is just so divergent here that I just think it doesn't make it a useful statistic to look at, which is why I tell people to pretty much ignore it. If you want to take anything from this, I would say you can look at it and say, generally speaking, prices are higher over the last 5 years, but they've been stable over the last 3 years. That's about all I would take from median pricing in Palm Beach County, despite the fact that a lot of people want to fixate on it. I don't know. Put it in the comments if you think I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. All right, total number of properties sold, 921. First and foremost, I've pointed this out several times. It's worth noting again. Every year, March, April, May, June. Here we are. June slides down to January. March, April, May. Every year we go through this where we slide down from April or May down through January, and then we rebound and we slide back down. It's just the cyclical nature. Now, where this could get a little bit concerning is only 921 sales. It's a little bit early in the year to be that low. Right? We should be that low sometime around here. So we may flatten out. I don't know. We'll kind of see what happens. There are few statistics that are more important than the total number of sales, right? I mean, what's more important than how many buyers are stepping forward and saying, I want to purchase this property, I like this price, and I think over the long term it's a good idea. Especially condos and townhomes where we have a lot of second home ownership, which is, in my personal opinion anyways, that's the segment that I don't really see participating right now. Townhome sales, because single family homes got so expensive, townhome sales are relatively healthy. Just because if people can't afford a single family home, a townhome is an excellent pivot, honestly. So I think that market's been pretty well buoyed. Condos, look, there's a lot of headwinds, especially in older condos that have deferred maintenance issues. Look, I'm 15 or 17 years in this business down here in South Florida. I will tell you, this is the most challenging year I have ever had in the condo and townhome market. Hard stop. Are prices falling 50%, and is there blood on the streets, and is it as terrible as the papers want to make it seem? No, honestly, it's not. It's not a good market. I don't want to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to tell you guys, I'm not going to be a cheerleader and tell you this is a great condo and townhome market. Anybody who says that, they ought to have their head examined. It's not. But it's also not a terrible market. And there's reasons for that structurally here, right? First and foremost, we had a lot of cash purchases. Second of all, we have a lot of people with equity who don't need to panic sell. So there's a whole lot more that goes into it, but I'm getting a little too into the weeds here. Look, all I want you to take from this is sales are down. I think the trend line here on this chart is down. That's undebatable. But it's not as bad as people feel or want to make it out to be right now. That's my takeaway. Sales to list price ratio. For those of you that are new to me, if you are a seller, you want to be up here in this 99% range, which says whatever I put my property out there on the market as, that's what a buyer has to pay, and I'm not negotiating. Down here, you'll see about 6% off total listing price. What this means is that if sellers want to get a deal done, more often than not, they got to negotiate. And again, a lot of people are negotiating 10 and 15% off of list price. So it's not uncommon right now. Buyers, it's a fairly good time, especially if you can find the longer days on market. And, there's some decent deals out there. I'm not going to lie to you. But once again, who's going to get left out on the cold on this is the seller who still thinks that we're back here and refuses to negotiate and says, nah, I'm not doing that. My price is my price. If that's your theory, have at it. But I'm telling you, it's not the market for that. Aspirational pricing, nope, not in this market. So, all right, median days on market. I do like to look at this statistic a lot. It is one of my more favorite ones. Look, we are on the high side of this chart. There is no way around this, right? It is taking longer to sell. And here's why. Let's look at this, 67 days. This means if I show your condo or townhome to a buyer of mine today, and 2 months later, they say to me, hey, remember that one? Is that still on the market? Pretty good chance it's still on the market, right? Buyers, they're not feeling the pressure right now. Here's another thing for buyers, though. I hear from buyers that say, hey, this thing's been on the market for 2 weeks. I think we should send in a really low offer. Well, probably not a good idea. The market is slower right now. Buyers and sellers have to understand that. Also, sellers note this 67 days. You also have to account for the contract period here, 30 or 45 days. If you're trying to figure out how long from the day you put your property on the market until you get money in your bank account. So you're going to have to add on 30 to 45 days because this is only the time it was on the market, not the time it went from active till closing. So for all intents and purposes, you're looking at 100, 120 days before you're getting paid for selling or for listing your condo or townhome. So just put that kind of into your timeline in general, and definitely keep an eye on this. I do think if we drew a line across here and said, well, I get it's now more than 40 days, maybe 45 days has been our average. Look, we're firmly in a buyer's market for condos and townhomes. No way around it. Is it as bad as a lot of people think? No. But don't get me wrong. Firmly in a buyer's market, and I'm going to keep giving you evidence that shows you that. But I'm going to give you a piece of evidence down towards the end of this that's rather interesting. All right, before we talk about median price per square foot, if you've been thinking about buying or selling in Palm Beach County, give me a call, 786-443-7203. You can send me a text, or you can use the contact form that's down there in the description. Send me a little email about what it is that you're looking to do or what you need help with. This is how I built my business, is first off doing this as a blog in Fort Lauderdale, and then as we moved up to Jupiter, starting it out in Palm Beach County. So you will not be the first, nor will you be the last person that I do a deal with from watching these videos. So please don't hesitate. The sooner I get involved, the easier it is for me to help shape the deal structure for you or position your property. So Median price per square foot, just like median sold price. I'm going to tell you, don't pay attention to it. Again, let's look back. I mean, there hasn't been a whole lot been going on, right? This is pretty flatlined for the last 3 years. Look, wake me up if we start to dip below this $200 a square foot thing. I think that may signal, something's going on here. But you also have to ask what's going on. Is it just that higher end isn't really participating in this? Is it just that there's such a volume of sales on the lower side that it's dragging this number down? A lot of things go into it, but for the most part, because of the dichotomy that we have here in pricing, I'm going to tell you, ignore this $237 a square foot. Here's the only thing that I use that number for, is I often get people who are looking at investing, and I deal with a lot of investment clientele. And what they say to me is, let's start a search based off buying a property below replacement value. That's about the only time you can really use this number effectively, is if you're trying to run a search like that, in my opinion. You might disagree. Just my opinion. It's my video. I'm allowed to have it. So, all right. Joking aside, let's move on here. Total dollar volume. Another thing I'm going to tell you, don't pay attention to it at all. First of all, you can look at this chart and just see how manic this is and know that this probably isn't going to be a reliable statistic. But I'm going to give you some concrete evidence as to exactly why I tell you to ignore this, and why I get frustrated sometimes when people focus, when I say people, I mean media, focuses on overall volume. I take my glasses off here to illustrate this point. So we had this 446 million, 97 million, or 22% of this total volume came from the top 25 sales. So 25 sales out of 921 accounted for 22% of this volume. So look, so what happens if the high end decides to take a month off? And this chart goes way down here. And then the next month, the higher end decides, hey, weather's getting cold. We're going to jump back in this market at an unexpected time. And they do, and this chart shoots back up. But what you find out is that instead of the top 25 sales making up 22% of the volume, maybe the top 50 sales made up 50% of the volume. It makes this statistic so unreliable just because of the high end that we have that exists in Palm Beach County, right? It throws all the metrics off completely. So I think that illustrates it better than any other point that I can make. Again, you might disagree with me, but I don't know. I think that it's logical, and it's what makes this statistic illogical to follow. All right, folks, from stats that I don't find important to the chart that I find more important than any other stat that I cover, and that's going to be month's supply of inventory. Now, a few notes here. First, for those of you that are new, buyers want more supply, means more choices, slower market. Sellers want less supply, means that you have less competition when you go to list your property. I like this stat more than any other because I can look at this quickly and just tell you whether we're in buyers or seller markets and who we're favoring and who we're going to start favoring. I pointed this out before. I think around here, something like 5 months of supply is probably market neutral. Throughout the country, 6 months of supply is considered market neutral. So it does feel like we're in a buyer's market right now in condos and townhomes, and you would be correct if you got that feeling. I feel the same way. This is what I do really want to point out. One more thing before I go on. Only two things are going to change this month's of supply number. Either if the total number of active listings comes down, or if the total number of or goes down or comes up, and if the total number of sales goes down or comes up. This 8.62 months is saying if the current level of sales just remained flat, it would take 8.62 months to sell all of our active inventory. All right, so here's where my listeners have been ahead of the curve. In April, I pointed out this and said, could we be moving down? In May, I pointed this out and said, is it possible? In June, how in the world is our supply heading down? This market, according to the media, is supposed to be getting worse. So our supply should be going up. That's not what's happening. I'll tell you what's happening because I talk to a lot of people. I talk to a lot of people that say, hey, I want to sell my condo or townhome. What do you think? Now, if I have a good relationship with you, at one point or another, I have faith that you're going to use me to sell your unit if we start talking now. And I'm not going to be shy to tell you, don't list your property right now unless you have to. If you have a condo or a townhome, unless there's some kind of shortage of supply in the zip code or in the immediate area that your property is located in, don't do it. You statistically are better off waiting until October or November to get that on the market. A bunch of agents are going to tell you don't list until December. The market's already bottomed in January, so the sales that took place in January, they came through in December, and they start to pick up as we get towards February because people that saw properties in December are now starting to close in February. So a little bit of a myth, but anyways, I digress. Look, here's where this makes sense is not only are sellers saying, I don't think right now is the best time for me to list, so maybe I'm not going to, but sellers that have listed their property and it came off market, it expired or it canceled because it didn't sell. Those same sellers are saying, hey, you know what? I don't want to relist right now. I just tried this. I just did this. I just tried to sell it for 6 months. I didn't get any bites. I'm not distressed. I own it for cash. I'm just going to wait the market out a little bit. That is my theory as to why this is starting to curl down. Buyers, you are going to want to pay attention to this. Your window for negotiation closes the further that this line gets down. If we swing back towards seller's market territory, where you could have negotiated pretty easily 5% off listing price, as some deals I'm doing, we're up 10% above off active listing price. I think those deals aren't going to exist if this line continues to move down because sellers, pendulum's going to swing the other way. All of a sudden, they're going to start seeing buyers rushing into their property, and buyers are going to have more competition with other buyers. So I think it's crucial, no matter which side you're on, buy or sell side, keep an eye on this line. See what sales are, or see what inventory is doing. I just can't stress this enough. It's a conversation I have with people every single week. Hey, I'd like to have that conversation with you. Give me a call, 786-443-7203. Send me a text message. Use the contact form. That's what I got this month, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next month.